This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is December 16th, 2024. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what's going on, man? We've got some not-so-great stuff to talk about, but before that, we've got some great stuff to talk about.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can take a look at the boys over here, sporting a new look. First off, the fact that I'm wearing white should be breaking news, okay? That's a big deal in itself, but then what is the white shirt? It's the new Six Man Show long sleeve tee that is available for pre-order. Looking sharp, Jonathan. Well, you want to tell the people about these awesome new shirts?
So I've been calling it the Six Man long sleeve, not the Six Man Show. No,
yeah.
Well, I just I want to keep the verbiage uniform here.
Of course.
No, like this is something that we've been working on. I know if you've been following us on social media at all, all the changes that were happening to the show. I know we talked about this when we initially unveiled the new logo and the rebrand and everything, but all the changes that were happening to the show over the summer with Luke leaving, bringing new people on, Kevin sliding into the co-host chair sort of full time. We just had this vision for like a total refresh, just like going into the next chapter. And something that I had tried to do with the previous 3 iterations of the logo was at some point it would be cool to have it as a brand that people would find cool and comfortable and want to rock, not just as a podcast, but as we're trying to build this fan community. That was a big driving element for us in this entire project, that whatever branding we come up with has to be something that the community can rally behind and something that speaks to Orlando Magic fandom and our community, and not just the show. We wanted the brand to live outside of the show. Yes, the show is always going to be, the main focus of what we do, and one of the biggest focuses in terms of content. But that's not just what we do. It's not the only thing that we are. We're having our group night that's coming up this Thursday, which we'll talk about. And that's getting Magic fans together, getting them in the building, trying to alter the atmosphere and, basically alter the outcome of the game with our presence at the game with other diehard Magic fans. And the watch parties that we do, all the time. We just had one a couple of weeks ago, and our record has been pretty good at those types of things. But again, we just wanted to have the branding and the community live outside of the show. And when we partnered with Vidi Global, who's the marketing firm, the marketing agency that we worked on with all of this, they understood everything that we were trying to do so perfectly. And then when it came to the point of looking for a partner in order to create the merch that we're looking to produce, they put us in touch with another Orlando-based vendor called Heavenly Studios, and Alec and the entire team over there. Again, it was just really a seamless process to get the ball rolling, and we couldn't be happier with the finished product. Obviously, if you're not watching, if you're not on social media, none of you have any idea what we're talking about. You haven't seen these yet, so definitely encourage you to either go to our website, thesixmanshow.com/shop. You can see the shirt there. You can purchase and pre-order the shirt there. You can go to one of our various social media channels. We have videos with the shirts and photos, obviously. But if you're watching on YouTube, you have the Six Man Show logo mark on the front. You have the star details, the blue star, kind of almost cartoonish stars that we've adopted as part of the brand down the right side of the sleeve. And then on the back, really our favorite element of the shirt is the gigantic sixth logo mark that is on the back, which signifies the six man, right? As we all are part of the six man of the Magic. So the idea behind this shirt is you can be a part of the six man everywhere you go. You can take it with you. And when people ask you about it, you can talk about the show if you want. Ultimately, we just want it to be a conversation piece to talk about the Orlando Magic. So just super stoked about it. Pre-orders went up Friday, and they've done really, really well, better than we could have anticipated to this point. Pre-order is going to run throughout the end of the year. They'll basically be done, December 31st. So go ahead and get yours now. It's It's a really high quality piece. That was another thing that was important to us, that it had to feel like a premium shirt, like premium streetwear that, again, you wouldn't want to wear just to say, oh, look, I like this podcast, but it's just a dope looking shirt. Like, plenty of people in my life don't listen to the podcast, aren't Magic fans. Sure, they've bought it because they like me, but ultimately the messaging that I'm getting is like, the shirt is really dope, so I can just wear it because it looks nice. So super pumped about it. Really glad that people are receiving it well, and would love for you guys to support the show and buy one.
And yeah, the plan is that this is the first of many, right? This is not like a one-time thing. Like, obviously this is our first time with this, and so we're testing the waters. We're seeing how it does, and if this one does well, we've got other things we can cook up. And so some people have said, will you do a black shirt? Will you do hats? Will you do what? Blah, blah, blah. We'd love to. It just depends on how this goes, right? You know, we have a certain number we have to sell to, you know, break even basically. And if it goes beyond that, then, you know, maybe we can put the money towards, you know, future projects and stuff. But yeah, if this is something you like and something you're interested in, the best way to help is to support it by doing the pre-order. And then, Jonathan, you know, we talked about this is a pre-order setup, right? So they'll go to the website, the6manshow.com/shop. They'll pre-order it. After the pre-order, we put in the official order with Heavenly Studios, and they got to print it. So it says it on the purchase page. It'll be a good, you know, 6 to 8 weeks after that before you guys will receive the shirts. So don't want anybody thinking they can order it now and get it by Christmas. You know, that's not how this is going to work. But yeah, it's super exciting, super cool. And like I said, I was joking earlier, but for those that don't know, I wear black every single day. Like, it's all I wear except for my sports stuff. And so I literally own 2 white shirts. One of them is Jam Hot Chicken and one of them is this. So that is all I have. Those are my 2 white shirts. And so I'm super proud to have this one as my second white shirt. But yeah, super pumped, Jonathan. They look awesome, and I'm glad to get to unveil them to the world this weekend.
The last thing that I'll say is, because we've gotten some questions about the fit, like the design for the fit was, again, like the trendy kind of streetwear right now. So it is true to size. It leans a little bit baggy. It's definitely what I wouldn't call it like, you know, tight fitting or anything like that. But if you do want more of a baggy fit, I would go a size up. But other than that, like, you can, you know, go with your normal, you know, size, you know, whatever your like active wear kind of size would be. Probably good with that size. And yeah, once people start getting these, you know, in the next, you know, couple of weeks, I can't wait to see photos of people wearing them, and, you know, we can share them. And I put out a video the night that Franz got hurt, and I was like filming it in my car, and I was very strategically, like, I had my hand over, you know, my chest so you couldn't see the shirt, but we were all together shooting the promo photos for this when that news dropped, and that was, you know, kind of unfortunate. And now I
literally dropped to my knees at Blue Jacket Park. Literally, I have witnesses. It was terrible.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, would love for you guys to check it out. And even if you just want to support the show, like, every little bit helps. And yeah, I hate to be like, I don't want to bury any kind of leads here, but the shirt is doing well at this point, that it does seem like we will be able to do like other iterations of this. So just excited for that, and just really appreciate everybody. Like, when you conceptualize something like this, like, if you're any type of like creative, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But when you envision something and you're able to find the right team and they're able to help you execute that like pretty flawlessly, and you're able to kind of see your vision come to fruition, especially over the course of 6 months, and like see it realized, it's just like one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever experienced. So just appreciate everybody, the Vidi team, Heavenly Studios, everybody that's grabbed a shirt. And thank you in advance for purchasing one. Again, head over to the6manshow.com/shop. Pre-order yours now. These shirts are awesome. We're going to talk really quickly about the group night that is coming up this Thursday, and we'll be sharing this information, you know, across social media as well. If you purchased a ticket to the group night, and if you were within the first 100 to purchase tickets, you would have received by now your email. I think those emails went out on Thursday. So if you not sure, go back, check your inbox. But basically, it's like your ticket into the pregame warm-up experience. You have to be at Kia by 4:45, and we're all going to meet over by the restaurant. I think it's the Tavern on Church now. So we'll all meet out there. 4:45, they'll let us in. If you're late, you will not be able to get in for the pregame warm-ups. You'll have to wait until 6 o'clock until the doors open. And in that email, there's also a waiver that everybody has to fill out in order to get in and be able to attend pregame warm-up. So again, if you purchase tickets, go back to your inbox on Thursday and your email, whatever email you use when you purchase the tickets, and make sure that you have the access ticket to the pregame warmups. And please make sure that you fill out that waiver. You will not be able to get in and be there no later than 4:45. If you are late, you will not be able to get in, and there is nothing that we can do to help you at that time. So please be punctual. We're really looking forward to that. We're going to talk about that game, obviously, and we do have with them, making it pretty far. They're in the final now. They're going to play in that final on Tuesday, travel Wednesday, and then they'll be in Orlando on Thursday. If they win it, they might be partying a little bit in Vegas. Who knows? The Thunder. And then they got to fly all the way across the country. So the Magic will have that sort of advantage. But if the last year and a half of history is any indication, the Magic don't play that well on rest either. So
they don't play well on rest. They don't play well on national TV. They don't play well against the Thunder. Thursday's going to be a tall order.
The Knicks.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that up yet. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. But hey, you never know. And if there's any time to beat the Thunder, it's that. Less than 48 hours after their NBA Cup game, because that game tips off after 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, and the Magic game is 7 p.m. on Thursday. So I don't know. If you're ever going to have a chance with these Magic injuries and that OKC team, this is your chance. So we'll see what happens.
And then last thing before we actually get into Magic basketball here, we are running a holiday sale on our Patreon. So if you ever wanted to support the Six Man Show, maybe you don't want the shirt. Maybe you're not a big shirt guy. Maybe you're like Luke, who just likes nipples out all the time. That's between you and whoever. But if you want to find a way to support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/the Six Man Show, where right now, between when you're listening to this and the end of the year, we're running a sale that you get either your first month or your first year, 15% off, whichever you decide to go. If you want to go the monthly route, you want to go the annual route, you'll get 15% off your first month or your first year with code SIXMAS, the number 6, MAS, at checkout. Again, patreon.com/the Six Man Show between now and the end of the year. Appreciate your support in advance. Now, Kevin, let's go ahead and get to the state of the Magic. For those watching on YouTube, I'm in the process of setting up a new computer, so I'm going to be looking over here for all of my notes on this episode. The weekly state of the Magic. This week, the Magic went 0-2 with losses to the Bucks and the Knicks. They are now 17-11 and are now 4th in the Eastern Conference, technically tied with the Knicks, but the Knicks hold the tiebreaker right now. We are 6 games back of first place Cleveland, 5 games back of second place Boston, tied with the Knicks technically. We're a game and a half up on Miami and Milwaukee, 2.5 games up on Atlanta, 4.5 games up on Indiana, 5 games up on Chicago, 5.5 games up on the Brooklyn Nets. Kevin, now obviously no Franz, no Paolo. It's very apparent that there are going to be some offensive struggles, to say the least, during this time. And given the schedule, that upcoming schedule here, really through the rest of the year, that cushion is starting to thin out a little bit. And it doesn't feel great right now. I did a pregame pod ahead of our game Sunday with Andrew Claudio from Knicks Film School. And one of the things that I talked about was you need to find out if Jalen Suggs is going to be able to do what he did, the first couple of games without Franz on like a pretty consistent basis. Right now, that's sort of up in the air. And another thing that we talked about is that the NBA season is like very much a roller coaster of emotions. When you're winning, you feel like you're never going to lose again. When you're losing, you feel like you're never going to win again. And we have to find a way to win a couple of games here, it feels like. Because you start losing, and if the confidence level of the guys that are playing right now drops at all, and you start to slide in the standings, I do think there is maybe it's not overwhelmingly likely, but there's a possibility that you slide a little bit here. Like, given the schedule, given the context of the team, it just is what it is. I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom, but that's just kind of reality. And to the Magic's credit, I do think they can find a way to do it, but it's going to be hard.
It's so many emotions right now. When we looked at the schedule back when we were all healthy, which feels like an eternity ago, when this thing first came out, you look at the schedule and you see the end of the month and you go, that is a fun stretch, right? You're at home. You're playing some of the best teams in the league. What a great test for this Magic team. And now, in the current context, it's like, oh no. Like, yeah, they're all at home. The Magic are at home the rest of the year, which is pretty cool. But you look at who it is. It's OKC, Miami, Boston, Miami, New York again, Brooklyn, all at home to close out the rest of the year. And you just go, oh crap, right? Like, not saying the Magic will go, 0 and what is that, 6? I don't believe that'll happen. I think they'll get at least one win, hopefully at least 2. It's hard to see more than 3, though. Like, if the Magic go 3-3 over these last 6 games, I will be thrilled. I'll be thrilled, which is such a far cry from where we were, pre-injuries, but that's just kind of how it goes. The good thing is I really don't think this team is going to get to the point where they get so far down on themselves that when Paolo comes back, when Franz comes back, it's going to be too far, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, statistically, if you look at the standings, maybe, let's say they go 0-6 in the rest of this homestand, right? Which means they would have an 0-7 homestand, which is crazy. Let's say it happens, right? Statistically, are you behind where you want to be in the standings? Yeah. But I think this team knows once they get Paolo back, it's a different ballgame. And then once they get Franz back too, it's a different ballgame. And so I'm not too worried about that. I'm just more worried about the Magic fan base, myself included, with this homestand, because it's like we were invincible at home. Now we're dealing with our first loss, against the Knicks. All these losses are going to have an asterisk by them, of course, but you just look at that schedule and you go, sheesh, man, like this is going to be really tough. And yeah, if you were able to go 500, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, the good news is after that stretch where you finish at home against Brooklyn December 29th, you do have Detroit, Toronto, Utah. Even with this, you should be able to get at least 2 out of those 3. So you'll be feeling a little bit better. Earlier in the week, what day was that? I think that was Friday or Saturday, whenever I think it was Friday, the Magic's last practice. And Jamal Mosley, and we saw some footage of Paolo Banchero going some, light dribble work and getting some jumpers, which felt good, I must say. Like, to see Paolo Banchero play basketball, I could have watched that for an hour. I've just missed that so much. And then we get Jamal Mosley saying that Paolo wasn't able to participate in practice. He's still really doing relatively light work on the floor, not wanting to, quote unquote, stress the injury. I don't feel great about Paolo coming back super soon. Like, if he's back in the next week, I'll be pretty surprised. For me, this is purely speculation, but my gut feeling is at this point more aligned with the way that you felt all along, is that we don't see Paolo until the new year. And it kind of feels like you'd be fortunate to see him like January 1.
Yeah.
There's 16 days left in the year as we're recording this. Unless they're just going to say, hey, like, he went through a practice, maybe his conditioning is 100%, and they're just going to throw him out there, which at this point, it's hard to argue against that, in my opinion. Unless they're just like, nope, this season isn't about this season. We don't care about this season necessarily. Even if we're a few games below 500 when Paolo comes back, we'll get right above 500 in no time. And then when Franz comes back, you can really run some games off. You'll still be in the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. If that's their approach, I would kind of be a little bit disappointed at that, perceiving this season that way. But how quickly Paolo comes back and what his conditioning level has to be for him to return will tell us a lot about the way that the front office views this season specifically.
Yeah, and it I think will directly correlate to this is a Captain Obvious statement, will directly correlate to whether we play home games in April or road games in April, if that makes sense, right? Like, this stretch is going to make or break what our playoff outlook is, if you ask me, which is kind of a weird thing to say in December, but it's true. Like, if they're able to bring him back, like you said, 1st of January or somehow even sooner, that's amazing. I think this team is going to be right in the thick of it to be a top 4 seed if, like you said, they wait an extra 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks beyond that. Who knows? Wouldn't put it past them. If they do that, then you're not gonna have home court advantage. Like you can't go this stretch without those guys. And so, I think you're right. It says a lot about what they think about it, but also says a lot about ultimately how it's going to go come playoff time.
And now we interrupt this episode to bring you one of our favorite segments of the week. This is the Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, where we take a look at all of the dunks from the Magic's past week, and we find the best one, and we choose that as our Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. This week's Jam of the Week, we're going to go back to last Tuesday when the Magic played the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee in the NBA Cup quarterfinals. To the 135 mark of the second quarter, the Magic lead 57-53. Jalen Suggs dribbles the ball up the court. He's being guarded by Taurean Prince. Goga Bitadze sets the screen on Prince. Jalen drives into the lane, finds a little window of daylight to one hand, bounce past the ball to Goga Bitadze, who sees none other than MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo and decides, you know what? Today is a good day to dunk on Giannis. Goes over the top with the one-hand slam, almost reminiscent of the Kobe Bryant dunk over Dwight Howard back in the day, the way that he kind of lands on top of Giannis. But the massive dunk, the bench goes crazy. It's probably my favorite part of that dunk is the bench reaction and Paolo Banchero's reaction specifically. And that gave the Magic a 6-point lead in that game. That is this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. And speaking of jam, they are proudly serving the city beautiful. Jam Hot Chicken is bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. Nashville and LA inspired Hot Chicken Shack, locally owned and operated in Winter Park, Florida. You saw some of the promotional shoots from the shirt that we dropped. We did have a little shout out, a little Easter egg to Jam Hot Chicken. So go ahead and check that out. A nice picture of a nice Sando there. And they're over there, 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Check them out at jamhotchickenfl.com to access all things Jam Hot Chicken and follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media. Big shout out to our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken.
Also got to add that Goga dunk is going to be a finalist for Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Year when it's all said and done. Like that thing was gnarly. So shout out to Goga for that. Also want to shout out Escoso Fresco, Nala, Nikki Nunu, Bill Fulton, and Sir Sundown. They are 5 of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons. Our patrons are the people that financially support the Six Man Show. They make everything possible that we do. Literally would not exist without them. And so big shout out to them. And big shout out to you. If you want to join us in this venture of raising up this Magic community, you can find us at patreon.com/The Six Man Show. And as was mentioned earlier in the show, right now we're running a promotion for 15% off your first month or your first year. If you're joining the Patreon for the first time, again, there's lots of different tiers available, different ways you can support the show. So check it all out at patreon.com/The Sixth Man Show. And now let's get back to the episode.
The only bit of solace that I would have is even with Paolo, like no Franz, I feel like you're head and shoulders better than Miami. You're probably just as good as Milwaukee. I think you're better than Atlanta, Indiana, Chicago, Brooklyn, obviously. So I don't know that I would say if let's say Paolo doesn't come back for a month, that I would completely throw home court advantage out the window. It would probably be not super likely, but I mean, you get Paolo and Franz back, we could be right back to winning 12 out of 13. You know, like that's
true.
Or even more than that. You know, you might be winning 17 out of 20 games. You know, you could go on a run like that with those guys if both of them are playing at the level that they're capable of and the rest of the roster is healthy. But I just, for my own sanity right now, I'm going to choose to believe that Paolo is like 2 to 3 weeks away at the most.
Yeah.
And, you know, that lines up with the injury, right? And now, I know we've talked about this, but Franz, with the timetable of being reevaluated at 4 weeks, hopefully, I would just logic says that if you're giving different timetables for a reevaluation window, says that Paolo's injury was probably a little bit worse than Franz's is. And they confirm all this stuff with MRI, so they're able to confirm like whatever grade tear of the oblique it is.
Right.
Hopefully, I mean, Franz has been out Yeah, it's just a week now.
Right.
This last week feels like it's been a month, but it has just
Right.
been a week. So
Yeah.
maybe we're a month from getting Franz back as well. Of course, all of this is just speculation.
The only thing I'll add to that is the what's good and bad at the same time. Number one, because of this homestand right now, you are about to get back even as far as home versus road games, right? So the Magic played going into tonight 17 road games, 10 home games. You have this 7-game homestand. So by the end of it, you're going to be 17-17 home away. Also, coming into tonight, you still have played the most games in the league. Not a lot of rest, which means that also balances out the rest of the way. And so when you're talking about these guys getting healthy, not only will they be healthy, in theory, the schedule starts to open up a little bit more off days, more days of rest. Not a lot, but some. And so being able to have that with them as they're getting healthy, I think could also be a benefit. But
anything is better than zero.
Yeah. I need one of those guys back ASAP. Hoping it's Paolo. I hope it's soon. But yeah, I don't expect it to be in 2024.
Back to the state of the Magic. The Magic so far on the year, 24th in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 110, third in defensive rating with a defensive rating of 106.1, and ninth in net rating with a positive net rating of 3.9. Back to the injury report. We talked about Paolo and some of the updates there, but he's missed 23 games now with the torn right oblique. 23 games. Man, that is crazy to say. Franz with the torn right oblique has missed the last 3 games. Gary Harris with the left hamstring strain. It seems like he's progressing towards a return, but he has missed the last 9 games. And then Jonathan Isaac returned Sunday night after missing 4 games with a right hamstring strain. I believe they ended up calling it. Kevin, I haven't had the opportunity to watch the entire episode of like the newest All Access that the Magic released, but I did see the clip of Jet Howard doing like a fan event, and Trish Wingerson with the Magic PR team. You see her in that clip let Jet know that Franz confirmed to have the oblique tear, and he's like, the same injury as Paolo? And Trish is like, yeah. So yeah, just a crazy thing. Like, really the same exact injury?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if you
Hard
saw
to
that,
believe.
but that was pretty interesting.
I did, and here we sit 8 days later, and I'm still just as much in disbelief as I was 8 days ago about this news. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, I'm still just sick for him. You know, like just the role he was on, the All-Star run. It's rough, and the team too. It sucks for the team. Because let's be honest. I mean, we'll obviously talk about this next game, but this team has fought so hard in the 3 games without him. Like, they fought so hard. And so I'm just sick for them that they put all this effort in and are 1 and 2 in the post Franz era. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of it goes, I guess.
Well, you said you were sick to your stomach, and I was going to tell you to hold on to your vomit, but you might want to let that go because we are going to talk about this game against the Knicks from Sunday night. So, all right. The good thing about Sundays is we do get the early tip off. So, you know, do whatever you're doing on Sunday. Come home late in the afternoon.
Watching the Bucks
right
win.
The corner.
Win a big one.
Watching the Giants lose a big one in terms of lottery standings, at least. My fantasy team, I'm in the fantasy football playoffs right now, and I am projected to win. ESPN is currently giving me a 65% win probability, which of course means nothing.
Yeah.
But I need Zach Charbonnet for the Seahawks to do nothing tonight. So if he has a great game, just know that ended my fantasy season more than likely as you're listening to this. But let's talk about this Knicks game. Was weary going into this game just because of the way that the Knicks have just dominated us in the last few regular season matchups, none of which we've been completely healthy. But yet again, this was it does feel like a bit of a matchup problem for the Magic, especially given the current state of the roster. But to just struggle the way that you did offensively, it was very weird offensive game because maybe one unlikely hero in Tristan da Silva just comes out of the gate playing really well, like from the tip, score the first couple of baskets for the Magic, and he ends up with 20 points. And then Mo Wagner, not unlikely, but just the amount that he gave you off the bench, 32 points in 25 minutes, a new career high for Mo Wagner. And just everybody else. Gogo was fine. 8 points in 25 minutes, 407 from the floor, 11 rebounds. But nobody else gave you any real type of significant offense in this game. And ultimately, that was the biggest factor in this game. And the officiating, 13 to 30 free throws in favor of the New York Knicks. If you've ever heard of a home court whistle, this game should completely dispel that myth. The big market whistle and the Jalen Brunson whistle is the overall trump card when it comes to the officiating. Just a really poorly officiated game, in my opinion. Sure, could the Magic have defended better in some spots? Maybe. But a 13 to 30 free throw discrepancy where your starters don't shoot a single free throw. Tim Reynolds of the AP tweeted this out after the game. I'm summarizing. But with the Magic, none of them shooting a single free throw tonight. That has not happened. It's happened 8 times over the course of like the last 50 years, where a team that all of their starters play at least 24 minutes and none of them shoot a single free throw. Don't want to make the entire thing about officiating, but I don't remember the officiating ever being as bad as it has consistently been this season.
I don't know. I remember a lot of bad officiating over the years, so I don't know if I'm ready to agree with that statement being that way, but I mean, tonight was wild, right? Honestly, like, you cannot tell me Jalen Suggs did not deserve to go to the free throw line one time in this game. Like, that's ludicrous. That's crazy. Tristan da Silva should have been on the free throw line tonight with that. I think it was Jalen Brunson, that ridiculous charge call where Tristan da Silva clearly sidesteps him and they call the charge.
Or the Jet Howard, in the first half, Jalen Brunson with the pump fake. Jet Howard clearly jumps to the side of Brunson, and Brunson goes left and then up into the 3-point shot. And 2 seasons ago, heading into that season, I believe it was Monty McCutcheon, like, it was a campaign that the NBA officials were going to stop rewarding offensive players for making unnatural basketball moves on offense, and so far to the fact that they were going to start calling some of those offensive fouls. That lasted maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And now we're back to guys doing crap like that, where Jet Howard was obviously justifiably frustrated. But yeah, like, to me, it's not so much like we haven't seen massive like free throw discrepancies. It's more so come in the effect of like, you go and you review a play and it's so obviously and blatantly wrong, and you just stick to the original call. Like, we've seen that. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but we've seen that at least a handful of times go against the Magic, and sometimes even in the Magic's favor, where like it's so obviously the wrong call. But if Jalen Suggs happens to quote unquote flop, he gets fined, but these officials can make terrible calls and we don't get any type of public accountability for those guys. And tonight, Karl Anthony Towns elbows Mo Wagner right in the face, and then he flops, and I guarantee you he doesn't get fined for that. It was completely egregious. Guarantee he will not get called for that.
Yep.
But love this guy to death. Ultimately, what this game came down to is that it was a terrible game for Jalen Suggs shooting from the floor. He was 4 of 19, ended up with 9 points. He fouled out of this game. Really let his emotions get the best of him in the last couple of minutes, commits a couple of silly fouls. The last foul, I hate the thought that like he checked himself out of the game, but what are you doing there? Like, I would hate to assume that about Jalen, but if you're giving him all the benefit of the doubt, it's just a foul that you cannot make in that moment. It was really a terrible play. And right
I'll just add, sorry, everyone in the building saw it coming too. Everyone's like, when he's picking him up full court, because he'd already done it a couple times on the night. Not only do Magic fans see it, Coach Mosley is screaming at him, and he still does it. And so you're right, whether it's he intentionally checked himself out of the game or whether it's he just got too aggressive, regardless, whatever the explanation is, you just can't do that.
I think he probably just felt like he was getting an unfair whistle guarding Brunson all night, which was true, but that like Brunson was also trying to punk him, and I think it was more of that. But again, like, if you're going to have any chance in coming back at the end of this game, which this was like a 7 to 10 point game the entire night, like the entire night. I don't have it in front of me. Let me pull up what the Knicks' largest lead was tonight. Their largest lead was 16 points.
16, yeah.
But like that was earlier in the game, if I remember correctly, and then the Magic did close the gap. And then again, like it was just this like 6 to 10 point back and forth. The Magic really couldn't get it closer than 6. The Knicks were really struggling to extend that lead beyond 10 or 12 points. But if you were going to have any chance at the end of that game to come back, it was going to be on the shoulders of Jalen Suggs. And putting yourself in that position and picking up that 6th foul and getting ejected from the game because of the 6th foul and disqualified, that's really when I thought the game was over when I forget what play it was, but it was like 7.5 minutes left. I think they hit a 3 to go up 13. And I texted you guys. I'm like, well, and that's early for me. Like 7.5 minutes to go. Like usually
that's what I said.
Yeah.
I said exactly. Already?
Correct. Yeah. But
yeah.
I said I'm not feeling very miracle-y right now. And that's what it felt like the Magic needed because the offense had struggled so mightily to that point. Where the Magic are currently, just given the state of the roster, like if we go up and down the roster, there's like maybe 3 or 4 guys that I really trust to create for themselves consistently. For me, it would be Jalen, it would be Jet, it would be Mo Wagner. And yeah, Jalen, Mo Wagner, Anthony Black. I think it's 3. Like I might have misspoken and said Jet, maybe Cole. Like it just doesn't feel like there are guys that can just get it done. And if Jalen isn't the guy that's giving you 20 plus a night, I'm not asking for anything crazy, but he's got to shoot over 40% every game from the floor and, 33, 35% from 3 with the looks that he's getting. If you're not getting that, I don't know about you, Kevin, but for me, it feels like we're not going to have a chance, especially against a team like the Knicks, who statistically to this point in the season have been one of the most efficient offenses in league history. And you hold them to 100 points at home, you have to find a way to win that game, even given all the context.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm just... I said this on the postgame live. If we had gotten blown out by 30 again, I wouldn't be this frustrated, angry, disappointed at all. Because like you have all the excuses in the world for that to happen, right? Like if you go out there and you get blown out by 30, it's like, well, yeah, that's on paper, that's about right. They're probably 30 points better than you without Paolo and Franz and without Gary. Don't forget Gary. But given the circumstances, the fact that they were able to keep it, like you said, a 2-3 at max 4 possession game the whole night, and you just couldn't score enough points. The stat that I found on the post game live and went over many times, this team shot. You take away the 2 Germans that played tonight, Moritz and Tristan da Silva. A team shot 35% from the field and 16% from 3. Everyone not named Mo and Tristan shot 3 of 18 from 3. Like, come on. They just needed one more person to step up and knock down a few shots. And at the very least, this is a competitive game, and more than likely the Magic find a way to win. So that's the part that's just frustrating because it was there for the taking. It was there for the win. And again, we knew it was going to be a struggle. We knew offense was going to be the struggle with this team out. Not defense, offense. But to be this close and just need one guy to step up and you don't get it, that's the part that it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's tough that it's your first loss at home. That sucks. It's tough that it's to the Knicks, who embarrassed you, a couple weeks ago at MSG. You want some revenge on them, even though you're not healthy at all. The whole thing just a difficult night, at least from my perspective, for the Magic against the Knicks.
Do we want to spend like just a minute or two talking about like the way that Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart were acting, like especially in the fourth quarter? Like, I get it, right? These guys are all competitors. It was a hard fought game, like regardless of what the score was. Like basically the Knicks got a lead in this game, and then these two teams just played dead even the rest of the way. Like that's really what this game came to. Like that run in the first half, and then the Magic are down going into the half, and the second half, like you pretty much play that even. So yeah, these guys are competitors. They're all chirping back and forth, and then yeah, it's clear that you're going to win the game, but it's like it just rubs me the wrong way there's always the factor of the Knicks fans being in the building. And the tickets to this game went on sale like earlier in the week. They definitely go to season ticket holders first. So I'm just like, how, given such short notice, how are there so many Knicks fans in the building? And that is disappointing to me. Regardless of what is going on with the team and the roster, like, yeah, you're not going to see Paolo. You're not going to see Franz. The Knicks are coming into town. You're going to be able to make a little bit of money off those tickets. It still always just really sucks to hear so many of them. And I know it's always going to be that way. There's always going to be a strong contingent of these big market teams, but that's definitely a factor. But man, I really just want to kill this team when we're fully healthy. Mm-hmm. And that might be one of those things of like, hey, be careful what you wish for. And they might kick the crap out of us again. But like, I'm just naively hoping and wishing for like a high stakes matchup. I'm not ready to say playoff series.
Well, that's the thing, Jonathan.
But I really want a high stakes matchup between these two teams. And if it's going to happen this year, it's going to happen in the playoffs.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, the Magic's last game against the Knicks is January 6th. And so, the only way to play them fully healthy will be in the playoffs.
And listen, if we have home court advantage, fine. Do I want to go to MSG 4 times? I mean, we're most likely not going at all. Do I want this Magic team to go to MSG 4 times? I don't know.
The hard part, obviously, totally different team, right? But let's not pretend like Paolo and Franz and Jalen don't remember what it's like to win at MSG, right? The Magic actually went 3-1 against the Knicks last year. You lost the last game of the season, matchup of the season against them, right? But the first 3 you won, right? They know what success is like there. Again, totally different team. I'm not saying on paper the Magic should beat the Knicks. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying the aura of MSG, I don't think is that obstacle for this team. It is the opponent. Like
playoffs.
The Knicks are
I think playoffs would be a little different in that building, but
for me, like the part that just again rubs me the wrong way, like the fact that I'm seeing Knicks fans and Knicks players like gloat about this, and if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm furious. I'm furious that you let this Orlando Magic team hang around. I'm furious that you only won by 9. Like, yeah, you beat us by 30 with Franz. You should beat us by 30, certainly without him. Right? Like, that's the part that rubs me the wrong. Like, seeing, again, whether it's the Knicks players, the Knicks fans, like, I'm looking at this game and going, that was not good enough. Right? Like, on paper, you're almost healthy, minus Mitchell Robinson, right? So you should have gone out there. This game should have been over at the end of the first quarter. Like, we're starting Tristan da Silva. We're playing Jet Howard. We're playing Corey Joseph. We're playing Caleb Houston. And yet we lose by 9. Like, what in the world? If I'm a Knicks fan, I'm not happy with this. That's the part I just can't wrap my head around. Like, gloating over beating this shell of a basketball team. That's the part I just have a hard. I don't get that, but whatever. I'm happy for him, I guess. Whatever.
And like, sure, we got blown out with Franz, right? And I'm going back and looking at that game, and New York shot 50% from the floor, 42%, almost 43% from 3, and 20 of 20 at the free throw line that night. Like, it was one of those nights where the Knicks could do no wrong,
right?
Like offensively, right? So yeah, you go back and say, yeah, you got killed with Franz. Like, I just don't feel like this Knicks team, fully healthy, is that much better than us. I really don't believe that. But yeah, no Franz, no Paolo, and they had cuts to Franz and Paolo during this game, and both of those dudes, Franz in particular, looked like he was ready to murder somebody. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that Franz and Paolo are making notes of the way that, like, and Thibodeau leaving those guys in so late when the game is like, I know that's just what he does, but it's just like bro, like, really? Like, to me, it doesn't really feel like respecting the game, but he also does that against everybody.
Yeah. It didn't bother me tonight because it was like, we've seen 13 points in 33 seconds, right? Like, to me, like, if it's within 3-4 possessions, it doesn't really bother me that much, but I do understand, like, challenging the call at the 30 seconds left.
30 seconds left, you're challenging a foul call. Like, what the game is over. It's a 10-point lead with 30 seconds left. What are we doing?
Unpopular opinion, though. If that's my head coach, I'm loving it.
No.
Like, let's just be honest. I think it's great. If it's
Mosley,
coach, no.
I'm like, bro, we got a pod to record. Wrap this thing up.
Gosh.
The game's over.
Yeah. All this, I will say, right? Like, if the Magic are going to make the second round, there's 3 or 4 teams that have the potential to face, right? Celtics, looks like the Bucks could be a second round team now. The Cavs, maybe pick 1 or 2 other teams that could be there, but that fourth one is the Knicks. So there is a real possibility, if the Magic get healthy, if they have a good first round and move to the second round, it's a good possibility you do play the New York Knicks in the playoffs, which, buckle up, ready or not. We'll see how that goes. Fun. But a lot of basketball has to be played between now and then.
It would be fun. And if there were ever a question about like the brights being too light, that is the series that would expose.
Did you hear what you just said?
The brights being too light?
No, you said the brights being too light.
I'm an idiot. Sorry. I've gotten like almost no sleep the last couple of days, so that doesn't. I'm probably not going to get a ton of sleep tonight as I toss and turn and think about this loss. And what sucks, like, not to like get into therapy session here, but like, we've just had the worst freaking luck with injuries for so long. And to think about what this team could look like healthy, to think that we're not right there with Boston, with like 20, 21 wins right now. It just like, why does this always have to happen? And yeah, that just kind of sucks, but
it's a balancing act from last year. Honestly, like last year you had pretty good injury luck.
Last year felt like the payback for the last, 5 years.
Right.
And now this year feels like we're getting paid back for last year. It was like, hey, we're supposed to be even here.
Right.
Like the Grim Reaper of injuries is supposed to be, oh no, like we're even now. Like, I'm going to leave you guys alone for a little while. Right. And that's, not been the case. Anyways, I don't have anything else that I really care to go over from this Knicks game. It's not one that you want to totally forget about, but again, it's not one that I'm really going to dwell on a ton, just given the state. Like, I've seen some people hitting the panic buttons, and it's like, listen, like, we're down 2 all-star level players right now. I have a hot take. I have a scorching hot take that I'm going to give right now. You put Jalen Suggs on the Orlando Magic in 2015, and he is as hated as Evan Fournier instead of absolutely beloved by Magic fans.
You're right. That is a very hot take.
Tell me how I'm wrong.
Because Jalen Suggs gives 110% on defense.
Correct. But the struggles that he has had offensively, if he would give this consistently, which would lose you games over the course of an 82-game season, if he was asked to be the number 1 or the number 2 guy full time, it's been 3 games and some people are already killing him. You do that over the span of, 6-7 years that Evan Fournier was here, people are going to feel a lot differently. It's just a point of context, and the role in which a player is cast changes the way that they're perceived 100%.
It's true. I'm not disagreeing. You just got to find a way to sneak Evan Fournier into an episode.
Well, it's not so much about Evan Fournier as it is, and I hate to do this, but like the fickle-mindedness of some Magic fans that can't watch a basketball game in its proper context. Right. Everything is black and white. It's right or it's wrong, or it's good and it's bad. And that's just not what sports in general are, but that's not what basketball is. You cannot just, and yes, we were talking in group chat tonight about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and some of the struggles that he's had. And you and I talked on the last episode, and we were saying, like, hey, like at some point you're hoping that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope steps up. We might be naive in saying that because, like, the not all that awesome version of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's going to have that. He's going to have good games, but he's never been this guy in his career that is going to go out and give you like 16, 17, 18 points a night being like the super efficient guy. He's never, ever been that. Right. Why are we going to assume that that's what he's going to be now? And people are they're frustrated with him because of the shooting struggles earlier in the season. But I don't think at this point you can be frustrated with him for not really stepping up in a big way when this guy was paid $23 million to be an elite level role player. He's not all of a sudden going to be this secondary option on this team if we're going to win a ton of games.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think anyone expects him to be a secondary option. I think people expect him to knock down his open threes. That's what people expect.
Have you read a ton of Twitter tonight?
Let me put it. I don't expect him to be that. I expect him to knock down his open threes. That's what I expect. And he just
you have the correct perspective on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Guys go down, and it's like, yes, we love this next man up mentality, and that's awesome, and it's great when guys are able to step up. But we can't all of a sudden hold these guys to the same standards that we would hold Paolo or Franz to.
Right.
They're just not those types of players. Jalen Suggs, when we drafted him, number 5 overall, we thought maybe he was going to be the savior of the franchise. 3 years later, it's very evident that, no, he's not going to be the best player on a championship contender. That's just not who he's going to be. But we can't expect him to step up in the way that Franz did while Paolo was out. It's just not going to happen. Consistently, exactly.
Any night he's capable of dropping, 100%. Pick a number, right? But the thing with that is consistency. And we've seen that, right? Like, had a couple good, especially like the fourth quarter, I would really specifically say Tuesday in Milwaukee, 18 points. You kidding me? Yeah, he missed the 2 big shots down the stretch, but you're not in that game without those 18. Right. And then he turns around and has this game. So, like, it's a matter of consistency for him. But you're right. Like, in the right context, in the right role, all Magic fans would take Jalen Suggs any day of the week because of what he gives you when he's within the proper role. I 100% agree with that.
It just sucks that, like, he has a couple of great games. Everybody loves him. He has a bad game. And it's not everybody. It's not even the majority. It's the loud minority. People are crapping on him, saying, like, he's got to step up. He's got to be like, yeah, he's got to be better than he was tonight, but you cannot hold him to that standard of going out and dropping, 26 points a game on plus 40% efficiencies. And that's just not who that guy is. And we just all have to have the proper perception of this team right now that this is a bunch of fourth and fifth options out there that you're hoping are going to have some of their best nights of the season so that this team can beat some of the better teams in the league. It's just not a realistic expectation to have. And if you go into teams or if you go into games expecting that, you're going to be incredibly disappointed. And I don't think it's fair to our players. I really don't.
Can I drop a bomb on this conversation and make it? No, it's not. It's not. No. It's not this. It's I'm floating a question out there because it's everywhere. It's a question everywhere, and I think we'd be doing a disservice to Magic fans if we don't at least talk about it and share our opinions about it. This team with Paolo and Franz struggles offensively. This team without Paolo struggles offensively. This team without Paolo and Franz struggles offensively. It doesn't matter who's on the floor right now. This season, we're 28 games in. Offensively, it's a struggle. And it has been for years, right? It's not anything new. There's a lot of talk right now. Do the Magic make a trade? Today, as we're recording this, Sunday, a laundry list of guys became eligible for a trade. And I just think we have to at least ask the question of each other. I want to know what you think. Like, if the Magic were to make a trade, what do you think it could look like? Like, there are some people on Magic Twitter, essentially, that are saying, go for a big star. There are some people saying you just go for a role player. Some people saying you don't move at all. Like, Jonathan, where are you when it comes to trades now that almost the entire roster is now tradable?
I say you had 4 games with this team being fully healthy before Paolo Banchero went out. One of those games, guys were hitting shots and you blow out the Heat on opening night. The other 3 games, guys couldn't hit shots whatsoever to save their lives. So I am not ready, especially as good as Franz has looked. We went into the season fully healthy and saying even if Franz is just a little bit better of a shooter than he was last year, we're talking about this team potentially winning 50 games, right? If you would have backed us up and said, hey, Franz is going to be an all-NBA level kind of guy this year, we all would have said the Magic are easily winning 50 games, right? Maybe 55 games, whatever. We would have said easily top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. That would have been the expectation going into the season if we knew Franz was going to be this good. And I'm not ready to throw that out the window when we saw this team healthy for 4 games.
Yeah.
If and this is we keep coming back to this point every so often as we talk about trades. Paolo and Franz are 22 and 23 years old. If you're going to make a minor trade that makes sense for the team, regardless of the context of the injuries, sure, I'm fine with that. If they want to, move some guys that they don't see as pieces of the team long term moving forward, if that's a Cole Anthony or a Gary Harris or whatever, and they feel that they can upgrade a certain spot in the rotation, I'm all for that. If we're talking about making like a significant win, now, like move the needle type of trade, that's where I'm kind of out, because you get a finite window with these guys' primes, and a lot of that is going to be tied to the salary cap flexibility that you have. And if you completely lock yourself into the next 4 or 5 years financially, you're not going to have the financial means and the tools that you'll need potentially to improve the roster. If you make like an all-in move, you better hope that you're winning a title in the next 4 or 5 years, because if you're not, then you either have a guy walking in free agency, and because of the amount of money you're paying guys like Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs, you're not going to have the cap space to go out and replace a guy like that. And you're not really going to be able to make a ton of other like ancillary moves, because you're going to be one of these second apron teams. Like you can't include cash in a deal to make a trade. There's stuff like you can't sign like certain guys to minimums and stuff like that. So you really inhibit your ability to improve the team when you're one of those second apron teams. And now all of a sudden, Paolo Banchero they're 27 and 28 and they're really ready to win, but you're not able to put the team around them that they need to get over the hump, because you're a second apron team and you already blew your all-in move back in 2024 because people wanted to be the second seed instead of the 5 seed. You just don't do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I wasn't sure if we'd agree on this. Not that I thought you'd go for a big trade, not at all. I wasn't sure if you'd go for any trade at all. For me, I am 100% at the point where I would be okay with a trade that improves a spot in the rotation, like you said, right? Like Gary Harris, thanks for your service. Cole Anthony, thank you for your service. Jet Howard, I wouldn't lose sleep, depending on who it's for. I wouldn't lose sleep if Jet Howard's
send that
dealt.
Stock my way.
That's fine. And I'd love to be wrong, but if you can package 1, 2, 3 of those guys, a Caleb Houston, I don't know, for a guy that can be basically the backup 2 guard who can find his own shot off the bench and get you 10 to 12 points consistently. That's what we need. We need somebody consistent, 10 to 12 points a night. That moves the needle a lot right now to me. Like, for what this bench unit is, and I don't even just mean our current bench unit, who has to be the bench unit because of the injuries. Like, even our quote unquote normal bench unit, like if you can have a guy come off the bench and get you consistent points, I think it's gonna be huge for this team. So all that to say,
like, if this team would have done like a Gary Harris and a Cole Anthony for like a Dennis Schroeder, like his skill set in a vacuum, I don't know about the chemistry fit, because like the guy's been on a lot of teams,
right?
And if you've been on a lot of teams, like there's something like, hey, people didn't want to keep you that badly, obviously, and usually that's for a reason.
Right.
But that type of skill set, like put him next to an Anthony Black. Yes, obviously you're still going to have shooting concerns, but like this team has shooting concerns now. A move like that, I would be all for.
Exactly.
Like
that's
something
exactly
that isn't going to, bust up the cap sheet by any means, and again is going to improve on some rotation stuff, because like you mentioned, like Gary Harris, like you can move Gary Harris tomorrow and I'm fine with it, because we've got Tristan da Silva. Like I want Tristan da Silva getting those minutes for their foreseeable future, because Gary Harris just isn't part of the long-term vision for this team.
Which shout out to Tristan da Silva, by the way. We talked all negatives about this game tonight. Sure. Tristan da Silva was amazing tonight, just for the record. Like he was great. Anyway,
Mo was awesome too. Like Mo checked in, and it was during a free throw, and he goes over to get in the free throw area to box out, and the dude looked laser focused, and he scores one bucket. I'm like, we've got a different type of Mo Wagner tonight. I tweeted it out. I've never felt so good about being right. Like the moment I saw a dude, I'm like, homeboy is locked in, and he was incredible. Yeah, they were awesome. Everybody else was kind of not so great.
Terrible.
Well, yeah, right there with you. If there's a small move that makes sense to upgrade like a rotational spot, I'm all for that. And right now, that feels like Anthony Black's bench backcourt mate. Like that, we need an upgrade there, it feels like. I don't know if it's coming, but if there was a deal there that made sense, yeah, I would be for that. But if you're looking to go out, like Bovada right now has the Magic as the favorites to land Anthony Simons if he were to be traded. I'm not making that deal right now. To me, that's a 100% like win now move. And I don't think the Magic should be doing that unless it's just so clear cut that Paolo and Franz make these transcendent leaps way before we've seen that happen historically. Right? Like if you can talk me into both of those guys being like legitimate season-long MVP candidates at 24 and 23 years old next year, it would be difficult to convince me of that. But if I was convinced, yeah, but NBA history says that 23, 24, 25-year-old guys that are the best players on their team don't win NBA championships.
Right.
Would love to be the exception to the rule, but for that reason, as they say on Shark Tank, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah.
The week ahead, Kev, Thursday at home versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, our group night, which for the second year in a row, we just seem to have the best of luck. With that last year, it was good luck because it ended up being a pretty cool night with Shaq's jersey retirement, but we did get spanked on TNT.
And against OKC, by the way.
Against OKC, exactly, by the way. And then Saturday versus the Miami Heat, both of those games being at home. I'm just going to come right out and say it. I think you go 1-1. I think you lose to Oklahoma City. I think they find a way to beat Miami on Saturday.
Just to be different, I'm going to say they go 1-1 as well. But I'm gonna pick them to beat the Thunder on Thursday.
That would be amazing. I would prefer you to be right.
More than. Really, you'd rather? I don't know.
On TNT beating basically like arguably the best team in the league this year, 100%.
Yeah, but losing to Miami, I don't like that.
That does suck.
Yeah,
but at least it's not on national TV.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like at this point, I'm pretty much just doing this to lift my spirits right now. So like envisioning us beating OKC. Again, I talked about it at the top of the show. Like they're playing after 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday night in Vegas. And like you said, if they win that game, party it up, OKC. Spend your whole evening, your morning partying. Would love that.
I want Shay to still be drunk at tip-off.
I was going to say, do your little dog, barking thing all night long. As much as you want Tuesday night. You can bark until Wednesday morning. That's fine. Get on a little plane, come to Orlando, and that's what I'd like. So I'm going to say the Magic somehow find a way. That's so stupid, but I'm just going to go with it. Magic beat the Thunder, lose to Miami on Saturday.
I like it. Well, looking forward to the group night. That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun regardless. Meeting up with listeners and being able to hang out, pregame warm-ups, all that kind of stuff, and then just cheer our heads off with a ton of Magic fans. So
yeah,
looking forward to that. Again, friendly reminder, sixmanshow.com/shop. Go ahead and pre-order you one of these bad boys. Again, just appreciate everybody's support. And now through the end of the year, you can pre-order the shirt. And now through the end of the year, you can go to the sixmanshow.com/ patreon.com/ I'm backwards and forwards and inside out, all kind of stuff here. Patreon.com/ the Six Man Show. And you can get 15% off your first year or your first month supporting the show with code SIXMAS, the number 6 MAS. Anything else, Kev? I think that's going to do it for this one. Let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah.
For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the Six Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!